In the 1760s, North America was a collection of distinct, isolated settlements. A farmer in Massachusetts had little in common with a planter in Virginia. They were 13 separate, squabbling entities, far more fiercely loyal to the British Crown than they ever were to each other. The American Revolution didn't ignite spontaneously. The colonies didn't just wake up one morning united against a king. A unified rebellion required careful, deliberate engineering over decades. This continental coordination was the work of Samuel Adams, a local Bostonian whose expertise lay in the gritty mechanics of political organization. History often obsesses over the men who fought the war. It tends to overlook the person who spent 20 years building the machine that made the fighting possible in the first place. By traditional standards, Samuel Adams was a terrible businessman. He ran his family's inherited malthouse into the ground. Later, appointed as a local tax collector for the city of Boston, he simply failed to collect the money owed, sometimes out of sympathy for cash-strapped neighbors. But what he lacked in financial discipline, he made up for in a profound understanding of people. He knew how to read the mood of the streets, and he instinctively understood crowd psychology. His ideological foundation was set early. For his 1743 Harvard master's thesis, he asked a specific question: is it lawful to resist the highest authority if the Commonwealth cannot be otherwise preserved? His conclusion was yes. Resisting unjust authority was a moral right. He took that academic justification for rebellion and combined it with his natural talent for street-level organizing. This combination turned a failed merchant into a highly effective political operator. This is a sheet of colonial revenue stamps. In 1765, Parliament passed the Stamp Act, attempting to collect revenue by requiring these stamps on nearly every piece of paper in colonial life. Adams viewed this direct taxation without colonial consent as a severe constitutional crisis. He immediately launched a two-pronged counterattack. First, the Information War. Using a rotating cast of pseudonyms, Adams flooded local newspapers with essays, hammering home one core argument: no taxation without representation. Second, he moved to the streets. Adams helped found the Sons of Liberty, a network of tradesmen and laborers who applied direct, physical intimidation to British tax collectors to prevent the law from functioning. The dual pressure of propaganda and physical resistance forced Parliament to repeal the Stamp Act a year later. Adams learned a dangerous lesson. Organized public pressure could successfully back down the British Empire. To enforce new taxes and maintain order, Britain sent thousands of soldiers to occupy Boston. The tension boiled over on a snowy night in March 1770, when a street brawl outside the Custom House ended with British redcoats firing into a crowd of colonists, killing 5. While British authorities classified it as a chaotic riot, Adams immediately seized the narrative. He aggressively branded the incident in the press as the Boston Massacre. This is Paul Revere's engraving, which Adams commissioned and distributed. Notice the right side, an organized firing line executing civilians under an officer's command. As copies spread, distant colonies suddenly saw the British Army as a violent occupying force. Controlling the visual representation of an event was proving to be far more powerful than the chaotic truth of what actually happened in the street. Adams realized true power required scale. He established the Committees of Correspondence, a system linking isolated towns by horseback. This network became the Revolution's nervous system. 13 disparate colonies finally had a mechanism to coordinate as a single, unified entity. When Parliament passed the Tea Act in 1773, Adams activated that network and his local street organizers. He orchestrated a massive meeting here at the Old South Meeting House, demanding British ships leave the harbor. When the governor refused, the resulting protest became the Boston Tea Party. The destruction of the tea pushed the Crown into an aggressive overreach, the Intolerable Acts. Adams immediately leveraged his communication network to frame the closing of Boston's port as an attack on all colonial rights. He had successfully escalated a local dispute into a crisis that forced the 13 colonies to either submit together or fight together. Fast forward to the 1780s. The war is won, America is independent, and Samuel Adams is now part of the ruling government in Massachusetts. In 1786, indebted farmers in western Massachusetts rose up in Shays' Rebellion. They were protesting high taxes and debt collection, using the exact same aggressive street tactics Adams had championed 20 years earlier. Yet, Adams demanded a brutal military crackdown, actively supporting the death penalty for the rebel leaders. To his critics, it was blatant hypocrisy. To Adams, there was a strict philosophical difference. Resisting a tyrant king was a righteous duty, but taking up arms against a republic built and governed by the citizens themselves was treason. Today, there is a historical irony to his name. The man who was famously terrible at managing his family's brewery is now primarily known globally as a brand of beer. His influence resided in the invisible scaffolding of the revolution, the taverns, the committees, and the meeting halls. While generals won the battles and diplomats secured the treaties, Adams built the resolve that made those efforts possible. He was a master organizer. He understood that turning deep frustration into a unified resolve takes slow, relentless, systemic work. Without Samuel Adams writing the propaganda, building the communication networks, and organizing the streets, the American Revolution would have lacked the foundation it needed to stand.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us.